important in this report and create a bullet list for me. Again, using Copilot. So if your end users in Teams or in any Microsoft app that's been integrated to the current report don't have any expertise in charts, they don't really understand any charts, or they don't really understand any line charts or prediction models, that's fine. They can ask the Copilot to break it down to them in a natural language. So you can see that here, the total requested obligation amount for disasters in the state of California is 117K, right? So now the state or tribe is California. If I change it over to all, right, you can see the entire thing has changed and ask for a different list of insights. It will create a different list of insights for the different view. Let's wait until it's finished. Meanwhile, guys, if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions or requests, feel free to chat that in the chat room or ask AI chat again to get more detailed response. And I want to highlight the importance of Fabric for productivity, right? It makes the entire process really easy to understand. All right, you can see that I have a different insight right now, and I can see that the entire amount that was spent is 21 million, right? And the state of Elmo had the highest total requested amount for 2 million, almost 3 million, contributing to 11.68% of the overall request amount. So these are basic introductions, so basic sentences that summarize my data. And they have all references, so I can just click on the reference and see which visual is responsible for this claim, right? So it doesn't generate any data. It doesn't come up with the data. It actually has some factual base, some factual foundation on your data. All right, so our report is ready, and this is the end solution. Now, as an addition, I would like to cover some of the technical stuff for technical folks out there to showcase the power of Fabric. Right, let me head over to my Lakehouse. And I can interact with the data in this Lakehouse using different tools. The first being a SQL endpoint. So I can use SQL even though the data is a Parquet behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, the data is stored in folders as separate Parquet files. But now I can use the SQL engine. Let me switch over to SQL endpoint. SQL endpoint allows me to write some basic SQL queries. For example, break down the cost, let's say we want to create a new query and we want to break down the cost by disaster description and see what is the disaster that's costing us a lot of money. Now let me run this. And I want to also mention the importance. I want to mention how easy for us to interact with the Lakehouse at this point, right? In the real world, I would basically create a connection to the Lakehouse, create a new notebook in the Lakehouse, so basically set up the runtime environment, the actual server that will be running my queries, and then connect to the Lakehouse, access the files from the Lakehouse. And then only then use the table to create a new table out of those files and run my select query. So the entire thing is really easy right now, even for the developers. And you can see the breakdown by disaster description, right? The hurricane and flood are two of the most costly disasters for us. The costliest being the hurricane at $13 million in total amount requested. Now, SQL is one endpoint. We can actually run the queries in a notebook, right? Or let's say you don't even know how to use SQL. You don't even know how to type SQL commands. That's also fine. That's still fine. you can go to a new visual query and create some visual queries using the data. For example, let's use this table and drop it on the canvas and break down the cost, again, the total amount requested by city and state. So I have to click, and I have basically some user experience here to click my way through the entire process. So I'm going to click plus here, and I will choose the columns that I need. I need the city, state. I need the requested amount and obligation amount. Click OK. So I want to break down the cost according to two different criteria, requested and obligation amount. And let's say we want to group by, right? We want to group by. So these are transformations that I can apply. They can be applied using SQL, but that requires some SQL knowledge. All right, I want to group by state first, and then I want to group by the city, the second level, and find the total sales amount. I'm sorry, not total sales amount, but total requested amount as a sum of requested amount. And again, another one for total obligation amount as a sum of the obligation amount. And click OK. Great. So you can see that the steps are applied, and I was able to perform a SQL step, not using any SQL, right? I didn't have to code my way. I just have to click and understand the data, analyze the data. I can export to Excel or any other format that I want. Now, besides from the SQL import and the visual queries, you can also do some basic coding. This is for data scientists and data engineers. You can switch over to data science persona. So in the data science persona, let's go to our lakehouse again. And one thing that we miss in this SQL environment is so far the Copilot experience, right? We don't have the ability to generate the code using Copilot, but this will be coming in the near future to Copilot really soon, and you will be able to ask the Copilot to write the SQL code for you based on your requirements, on your business requirements. So even the coding or clicking won't be an issue in the near future. Now I want to switch over to my Lakehouse view so that I can see the data in the Lakehouse view. And let's close these two queries, right? So I'm going to close these two queries. Okay, let me click again, Lakehouse view. Which allows me to create a new notebook, right? Notebooks are analysis tools, right? They're used to analyze or to load the data or to explore the data. And they're equipped with the Copilot. So I can ask it to basically load me data, offer me some scatter plots or some analysis. For example, let's load this data. Let's load this table that we have, mission assigned demo, into a Spark engine in Spark data frame and run this cell. And you can see that how I clicked my way through the entire process, right? I didn't have to write this code here, this Python code. I just have to click here, load data into Spark. So it's very easy, even for me as a data engineer. I want to also mention the clusters behind the scenes. So the way it's working is it's getting the compute in a serverless manner, and it's spinning up a new cluster behind the scenes. So it's always alive. It's always live, and you don't have to manage that. And you can see the data, right? The output of my code. Now, you can actually interact with the Copilot with this notebook view. So if I click on the Copilot and get started, I have to install some of the libraries. So I'm going to run this cell here, which will help me to install the libraries. All right, so let's wait until it's finished. So it wouldn't take a lot of time. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. All right, my packages are installed. I can actually do this data visualizations, for example. Let me suggest new data visualizations and provide my table name. So the table name, it understands the context, guys. So you can provide the table name or the data frame that you have. Let's provide the data frame, df, right, and run this. So it will generate some code for me that I can run and analyze my data. Let's wait until it's finished. And one thing I want to mention is the Copilot support for Data Factory. So far you've seen that I used something called to data flow to load my data, but we can use more detailed or even powerful tool called Data Factory that will be equipped with the data flow that will be equipped with the Copilot in the near future. So in the near future, you'll be able to type and create the entire pipeline without needing to code or without any expertise in coding. So the entire process will be assisted by AI in the near future. All right, so you can see that it suggested some code here, right? And I can just say, can we create a box plot to visualize the data to understand the numerical variables? Right, so this is some data science stuff going on here. So you can understand the data, you can analyze it at a deeper level using notebooks. And it will suggest all this code for you to write. Here you can see that it suggested me this code. I can uh, I can insert that code into my view and run it. One second. Let me run this previous step. And ask it to suggest some data visualizations using the app. I don't need this at this point. Okay, so you can see that it suggested me some ways to analyze data, right? So again, data science, data engineering, data warehouse, even real-time analytics using Synapse, all of them are assisted using Copilot. Now, if you have any questions, we'll go over the questions if you want. Feel free to ask them. And meanwhile, I can explain some technical stuff with the Vuln Lake. right? So OneLake is supported by the serverless compute, meaning